Good evening. My name is Jeff Deck. I'm here to do another fake fireside reading from my book, The Pseudo-Chronicles of Mark Huntley. Tonight's recommendation, Dr. McGillicuddy's Butterscotch Liqueur and Pepsi. Chef's kiss. Anyway, let's pick up with an entry called Good News. We could all use some good news, right? This brings us to Thursday, September 30th, 2004, in Mark's fictional blog. Good news. I did something stupid today. I think I almost got myself killed. And, even worse, I know a few things now that I wish I didn't. The trouble started at the Lucky Bar. Ever been there, reader? Next time you parade through our nation's capital, you should take the time to check out DuPont's proudest dive. All the Yingling you could ever wish to drink. And the bartender kind of looks like an old pirate lady. And this just a 15-minute walk from the White House. A few of the Divine ad office folks headed out there at 5 to celebrate somebody's birthday and invited Dale and me along. Well, they invited Dale, who invited me. And I said, okay. Why? I think I'd gotten too wrapped up in my thoughts about auras and chakras and all that other shit. Just this morning on my way to work, I'd seen another aura person, a silvery one, a Hispanic girl, late teens, in a fedora. How about that, an aura and fedora, my kind of woman. Alright, let's try that again. Our eyes had actually met for a second, and I thought I heard the sound of a parakeet screeching, of all things, before I turned away in a hurry. And so now I welcome the chance to hang out with second-degree buddies and just talk about nothing of consequence. Sometime later, after a few too many beers and a few too many times watching Dale try to start up a fruitful conversation with the red-headed ad rep with the nice smile on those long, cultish legs, Katie, Katrina, I swung back toward wanting to talk about consequential things. And Dale was the nearest, most sufficient target. So as Katie or Katrina giggled and then pointedly turned toward Leanna and Monique to strike up a conversation about soccer, I leaned in closer to Dale and said, "You ever see things you can't explain?" He scratched at his stubbly face and chuckled. "Yeah, right now I'm seeing two Mark Huntleys right next to each other, and both are talking to me at once." Okay, not a great start, but not being sober either, I was ready to push forward. "Okay," I said, "you're a fact-based kind of guy. You don't believe in Jeebus or any of that stuff. What if, assuming you were pretty confident in your own sanity and your own physical health, you started to see a cloud of color around certain people? What do you think it would mean on an objective basis?" Dale's face grew more serious. He put down his beer, rested his hand on his belly, and said, "Color. Yeah, like purple or silver." "Well?" For the next moment, the whole bar seemed to grow quieter. The chatter of the Divide girls, the boasts and loud laughter from the soccer fans. As I waited for Dale's answer, he stared at the dirty floor, then met my eyes and said, "Mark, when you look at me, what do you see?" "I don't see anything," I said. "Nah," Dale said. "You look at me and you see a black dude, don't you?" "Oh, for God's sake." Dale sat up and said in a tone I now knew to be mocking me, "See, we've all got to make a conscious effort to recognize our racial biases. To reach out, you know? This isn't about purple and silver, Mark. This is about black and white." A pretty young Asian girl in tight jeans walked by and Dale's head followed her. "And yellow, and brown." He couldn't help it any longer. He burst into laughter. "Sorry, man, just fucking with you." Right, I should have predicted this. "If you're talking about hippie shit or ESP or whatever, I'm the wrong guy," he said. "I ever start talking to you about fields of purple energy, you know I'm probably just trying to get into some flower child's pants." "Got it," I muttered, and drank more of my beer. Then, just because I was annoyed with him, I said, "Where is Yasmin anyway? Doesn't she work just over in Scott's Circle?" "Yeah," Dale said. "She didn't get an invite. Whoops. She's probably up to something else right now anyway. Now, of course, Dale would forget to invite his girlfriend to come join us at the Lucky Bar. He wouldn't want to miss out on an opportunity to flirt with the lovely ladies of the advertising department. Not that he ever actually do anything with them. He does love Yasmin, as far as I can tell. But it's kind of like his approach to work. Wanting to be a great journalist and yet unable to resist the call of the long, boozy lunch. Dale just wants to have his cake and eat it too. And maybe I was just angry at something not that different in myself. But I put my glass down and said, "Hey, I gotta go, bro. Say goodbye to the ladies for me." "Whatever," said Dale, smiling. As I neared the exit, he called out, "And watch out for those colors. Green means yes, red means no." I came outside to a sunset over Connecticut Ave, and I saw somebody with a purple aura almost immediately, like a challenge. She was a tall blonde woman in an expensive-looking skirt and blazer, talking on her cell phone, walking south down the street, just radiating that sickly violet. She was a good 30 yards away from me and gaining distance by the second. Now, would I be a cake eater and cake haver all my life too? Wanting to solve mysteries and protect myself from them at the same time? Half-assing my way through life while letting greater truths spin just out of my reach? No! I would take control of my own destiny. I would take action now. Also, I was drunk. There's that. I began to follow the purple woman, starting out at a safe distance, taking advantage of the considerable after-work foot traffic to stay blended in. I was curious where she was going and what she was talking about, but neither of those were my primary mission. I just needed to confirm something, and for that I would need to get a lot closer. The purple kept up quite a power walk. She fit right in with the merciless stride of most of these downtown folks, coming from their high-power jobs, powering their way to a power happy hour or back home to their power spouses and power kids. Meanwhile, I just made my way through, trying to gain some ground among them and not stand out too much in my stupid sweater and jeans. I wondered how much like alcohol I smelled. We were heading toward Farragut Square and K Street, my quarry and I. The crowd stayed reliably thick, and I got closer to her, close enough that I could start to pick up her end of her phone conversation. No, you tell Shrum to kiss my ass. You tell Shrum that I'm trying to break the curse of Shrum here. Honestly, you want to see Johnny go down? Let Shrum take the reins. Christ almighty. Shrum? Johnny? Wait a minute. I forgot my caution momentarily and tried to surge closer. She was distracted anyway. I wanted to hear more of this. As I got closer, I could hear something off about her voice. She was speaking like a human being. Yeah, good old general American English. But she didn't sound like one. It was like her voice was coming from a church nave with a very high ceiling. And there were a few other voices farther behind her in that church, simultaneously saying the same words. An echo, an unsettling and unorganized chorus. "He's got to be fucking merciless on the Middle East," the purple went on. "I don't care if he sounds like W, word for word. Hell, if he answers the question second, I'd rather hear him say exactly what W said than this weak tea diplomacy shit you're talking about. People listen with their guts, not their heads. And their guts are scared that Abdul the Islamist is going to blow up their kid's school." Yuck. Now we're on 16th Street with big monolithic buildings on either side of the street, and just south of us Lafayette Square, and beyond it the White House. The crowd had thinned around me, but the purple was still marching on without hesitation. I was still safe, I thought. As for her conversation, this purple was clearly talking about the presidential debate scheduled for tonight. And not as an outsider either. This woman with her purple aura, was she actually part of the Kerry campaign? What the hell did this mean? I caught a sudden strong whiff on the air that immediately transported my mind back to New England during the holidays. That unmistakable smell of a balsam fir. And I realized that the blonde woman had stopped walking. She wasn't far away, and there were no evergreens anywhere near us. The smell was coming from her. Yes, this lady, Democratic power player and carrier of a purple aura, smelled like a Christmas tree. I had time for a brief moment of triumph. What I'd been mulling over in my head the last day or so, I'd been right, goddammit. These aura people all had something extra to them, either a smell or a sound. I kept thinking about the man in the hat, the one who seemed to have the ability to put the later than you think song into your head just by walking by you. And the old man on Saturday, when he passed by me, it was a similar kind of sense imprinting, but a smell instead. Burning leaves. Sounds. Smells. The silver girl in the fedora this morning, she made me think I could hear a bird, a parakeet. And I could remember other snatches of sound and song that had kind of forced their way into my head when I came even vaguely close to a couple of the other purples. Head noise that I hadn't thought much about at the time. I could go even further back, to the beginning of this fucked up month. When that guy knocked me on my back, I'd smelled chlorine. Then I'd smelled it again the other day in another weird context. Mr. Pool Party hadn't taken a dip in a pool. He'd been one of them, whether purple or silver, which meant... Somebody grabbed me, interrupting my thoughts. I'd stood still for just a second too long. I struggled against a rough arm that locked around my chest and yanked me off my feet. The woman with the purple aura was off her phone now and was watching the whole thing. Whoever was behind me dragged me toward the tree-lined plaza in front of the big building on our left, gaining some relative privacy away from the sidewalk. He was so strong and so quick that I could barely even try to get my feet flat on the ground again. Next thing I knew, I was on my hands and knees on the pavement, with my face shoved up against a concrete barricade. I still couldn't see the guy who put me in this position, but I could smell him. Sweat. Human sweat. "Who are you?" said the woman, her multi-layered voice now devoid of emotion. Somehow it didn't seem like a good idea to give them my name and social security number. "Is this how y'all treat a tourist from your own darn country?" I said. "Lay off me, cowpoke." "Kick him," she said. The pressure on my back eased up for a second, and I used the opportunity to rise halfway upright, jerking my head to the side to see a big man in a suit and tie, winding up for a wingtip special delivery. No aura. The significance of that didn't hit me until later. Right then, I really just didn't want to be kicked. But I didn't move fast enough, and I didn't know where his foot might have originally been aimed. But my fancy dodging earned me a kick right in the balls. Down. Down for a long time. Through the agony, I thought I heard her say in her echo chamber voice, "So, he's not one of them." But I couldn't be sure. Couldn't be sure of anything for a while, and I couldn't move much at all until a heavy hand fell on my shoulder. Somebody wanted me to move, was about to encourage me. Crazily, I thought of the usher from Lucy's theater and looked around, expecting Lucy to come to my rescue again. I got hauled to my feet. It was a Capitol police officer, an African-American man with glasses who did not look either amused or sympathetic. One of his colleagues was standing just behind him. Neither the purple woman nor the muscly man in a suit were anywhere to be seen. "You're lucky we're not in our jurisdiction," the officer said, wrinkling his nose. "Go on, get sobered up someplace else before the District Blue come wandering down this street." I stared at him. "You didn't see that guy kick me in the jewels?" "What guy?" The officer shrugged. "All we saw was you hunched over looking like you're going to hurl right here in front of the AFL-CIO building." Damn, I realized I couldn't be sure how much time had passed. I could have been crumpled there for as much as 5 minutes. Plenty of time for the aura woman and her non-aura muscle to clear the premises before they incriminated themselves. Maybe somebody had seen something from the street or from one of the many windows in the nearby buildings. But clearly nobody had cared enough to intervene. And if I'd let the purple woman lure me into a less public area, would I still be here to write this? I'm thinking I got lucky, though it felt like anything but at the time. I told the officers to forget it and staggered off to a safe distance away and sat down on a bench at the edge of Lafayette Square where I could nurse my nuts until I was ready to head home. Nobody prevented me from reaching my apartment this evening. I saw no further aura people. So, why is this entry titled Good News? Well, just a moment after I shuffled into my apartment, my cell phone started ringing. I flipped it open and offered a wary greeting. "I have a plan to increase health care coverage for all Americans," someone intoned, a fake Boston Brahmin-type delivery. "I have a plan." This may be hard to believe, I answered, but I am actually really not in the mood for a John Kerry impression right now. Why, I never, said the caller, easily switching to an outraged soccer mom voice. It was, of course, my good friend Rents Robichaux, who I've mentioned more than a couple of times in this journal. Rents, getting no reaction from me, assumed his normal voice and said, "So, bad day?" Horrific day. Catastrophic day. I had only just started to absorb the implications of my little adventure with the Purple Woman. I felt like I had a nervous breakdown in my near future, and my sack still ached. But I said, not too bad, just tired. What's up with you? Well, I have a plan that you're going to love, Rents said. I'm coming to visit you, you son of a bitch. I just said, what? Rents went on to say he's headed this way Columbus Day weekend, like it or not. Not for business or anything, he just decided that I needed a visit. He has a sense about these things. I'm sure the last couple of times he talked to me on the phone, I didn't exactly paint an encouraging picture of my mental state. He just assumed that I wouldn't have any plans for the holiday weekend. He was right. I had to take a second before I could respond. I had to picture how Rents would fit into the zone of weird crap. With everything that had happened so far, maybe it'd be better if he stayed away. Safer. But to have an actual ally to help me figure all this out? Someone more open than Dale, without Gwen's secrets and Sphinx-like tendencies? It's just too tempting of a thought. I said I'd love to see him. These days, more than ever, I need a friend I can look in the eye. Hey, howdy, faceless wordsmith. And Danielle. Rents will arrive next Friday, the 8th of October, and stay through until Monday. Now, Rents hasn't been down in D.C. since junior high, so the whole touristy whirlwind will be in order. The monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the White House, as close as they'll let you get to it, which is not close. All the art gallery crap. But we'll also have to hit the new Museum of the American Indian, which just opened last week. And the World War II Memorial, which has only been around since the summer. Have to take him to Typhoon. Oh, and then we'll be walking along, chatting about old times, and we'll pass by some sophisticated businessman surrounded by a sickly purple glow, and I'll stare, and Rents will say, "What's up? Why are you looking at that guy?" And I'll say, "Funny story about my new ability to see creepy aura people." And I haven't told Rents anything about the Zone of Weird Crap, or ZOWC as we know it. He gets the hint that something's up, I'm sure, because he asked me twice if something was bothering me. Both times I denied it. First, he'll probably take note of strange behavior on my part before I even get around to explaining things. The restlessness, the fidgetiness, if that's a word. I'll try to tell him it's just lingering post-Lucy weirdness. He's a sharp guy. He'll see past that. Then, I'll have to try to lay it all out, get his reaction. One thing's for sure, though. He won't be meeting Gwendolyn. Dear Gwen with her cache of warm childhood stories. Like, remember when we were in Little League, and when our parents took us to the Boston Museum of Science? Or how about the time I put a knife in someone? Rents and I didn't become friends until junior high, so he wouldn't have met Gwen back when we were growing up in New Hampshire since let's see if I can finish this sentence. Since she left the state at 9. This will just be easier for me to approach without the Sphinx involved. So, I'm still achy and still feel like I'm going to collapse from tiredness. And tomorrow I'll process what my stalking earned me besides a ball kicking. What it means. Oh yeah, before I go, my cumulative aura count so far. You're keeping track at home, right, reader? 6 purplish, 2 silver. Just let me collect a little more demographic data, and then I'll process it and pass it on to the government. We wouldn't want these 2 important populations underreported in the next census. Posted by Mark Huntley at 10:16 p.m. Well, thank you all for tuning in tonight for tonight's reading from the Pseudo-Chronicles of Mark Huntley. It's been a pleasure, as always. If you liked what you heard, you can buy me a coffee or check out my books in the links in my Instagram bio. Or if you're watching this on YouTube later on, you can check out that same info in the description of the YouTube video. You can also check out my channel on YouTube to catch up on reading videos that you might have missed. Thanks for the smiley Mary. You have a good night. All the rest of you have a good night as well, and I will see you again real soon.
Thanks, Danielle.